And hello, everyone. And really big thanks to everyone for being here and showing interest in our work. I'm also extremely grateful to BSI for this initiative, which really has brought us, the national committees together and introduced to each other closer and to our work. So I structured my presentation. Oh, I should share. Yes, present. Is it coming up?
Yep,
do you see it? Yeah, all right. So I structured my presentation in a way just to tell you shortly about the background of and the history of its establishment, and also to briefly cover the risk profile of our country, and then talk in more detail about the various areas of our activity, and finish with the outlooks for the future. Yes, just let me start by telling a little bit about some of the key events that led to the establishment of the Blue Shield. And here on the slide, you see that this is a ICOM organized regional workshop way back in 2011 on DRM for the museum professionals from all around the Caucasus region. It was organized by ICOM Georgia. And you see the founder, Professor Inga Karaja, who invited back then the president of the ANCBS, Karl von Habsburg, and also the ICOM Disaster Relief Task Force, which is now the DRMC, the Committee for Disaster Resilient Museums, I think, at ICOM. Thomas Schuller to speak for the first time in this region about disaster risk management for museums and heritage at large. But prior to this, I should also mention, because this was also key to the establishment of Blue Shield Georgia, was the experience that we had in 2008 war, and where ICOM and ICOMOS played a big role in gathering, and they did their best in collecting and documenting the damages and risks to to the cultural property, and to inform our international colleagues and the community to what was going on. And so this also showed that there was really a need for such an organization like the Blue Shield, and also for stronger ties with the international heritage community. So soon after this workshop, ICOM Georgia initiated the founding and brought together the founding organizations, which were ICOMOS, the Library Associations of Georgia, and which is a member of IFLA, and itself. And they back then they nominated me to become the head, and I was elected as a chair, and have been chairing, and re-elected twice, and have been chairing the organization since then. But I should. As much as we are this year celebrating and looking back to our pretty much 5 years of success and successful implementation of projects, we are also this is also a very difficult year for our organization, as we lost, you see their pictures, we lost 2 of our founding members. Just this year, the heads of ICOM Georgia and the head of, back then when he founded, was the chairperson of the Library Associations of Georgia. So I should take a few moments and remember their, yes, pay tribute to their work. So they were not just our founders, but really devoted supporters and founding members. And yes, I'd just like to dedicate also this talk to their memory. So to go ahead, yes, back in 2013, we were officially registered and also recognized, accredited. You see the very first presentation that was actually also hosted by the Science Library and our founding member, Library Association. And later, also the Georgian National Archives, which is part of ICA network, joined our organization. And so Yes, we then structured our aims according to the BSI, and just let me also start, like Ricardo, show you also where we are. We're located in Eastern Europe, or more precisely in the Caucasus region, and we're by now the only national committee in the region. Yes, Georgia is bordering the Black Sea, Russia, Turkey, Azerbaijan, and the Caucasus, and Armenia, the Caucasus. Yes, so due to complexity of geological structure and also the diversity of geomorphologic and hydroclimatic conditions, we are really, a lot of natural hazards and disasters are quite frequent here. So everything from earthquakes, landslides to mud flows and floods. There. So just to show and mention a few recent disasters, like the earthquake that hit one of the mountainous regions, Raja, and in 1991, and the flood in 2015 in the center of Tbilisi, the capital, which actually flooded the zoo, and you might have all seen the hippopotamus in the main square wandering off. Yes, poor animals were hit back then. And so besides, we have also a history of armed conflicts. Also, it has been quite frequent, and we experienced it in the early 90s and right after our independence, but also more recently in 2008, when Russian forces openly fought against Georgian military. And that's on both occasions. There was some damage to heritage through direct shelling, and but also after that, we are witnessing some damage and destruction in this period of occupation, and yes, which still continues. And Georgia has not have access to some of these territories, which comprises of about 20% of our land. So yes, just a few pictures to show what had been damaged in 2008, and also afterwards, when about a dozen of Georgian villages have been destroyed, and a lot of military infrastructure has been built and is posing threat in those to heritage, remaining heritage sites in those areas. Yes, so besides the war and the more dramatic natural disasters, yes, one more slide to show this is a museum building and also a listed building which was damaged after the war. And there should be a third picture also to show that in the years after the war, so after the end of hostilities, it also was completely bulldozed. Yes, besides this, there are, as I said, more other anthropogenic hazards and risks, and a lot of, yeah, just everywhere, you know, from vandalism to civic unrest to this mega projects, infrastructural projects that prevent, that pose risk to day-to-day maintenance and preservation of our heritage, be it movable, built or built. But of course, it's really hard to focus on everything, right? So, and so when we started, we tried to keep our aims and goals quite wide, and be in compliance with the Blue Shield statutes, and you see some of our goals from the statutes, but later on we are the experience, like looking back, and when preparing this presentation, I saw that we mainly worked in three main areas of activities, which is now has been published by BSI and has been a guiding tool also for a new established committees. So the remaining time, I will go over this three main areas of our activity, which is education, training, and capacity building, also proactive protection and risk preparedness. Well, actually three, also law, policy development and implementation, and also coordination with the relevant organizations. Yes, so out of the six, this is what we've been mainly working in, and yes, the remaining two, which is emergency response in disasters. Luckily, we haven't had to do this, but yes, and maybe later we will concentrate also on that. But before I go on, let me also tell that our core team is constituted of the alumni of the ICRAM First Aid, and also the international training course from the Ritsumeikan University. So you see myself, Mariam, and Irakli, all three alumni of these courses. And since then, since taking up these courses, yes, we have come back all motivated and with the necessary skills and knowledge to do this work, replicate the trainings. And I'm personally also especially grateful to ICRAM and all the organizers of the PAC course and the entire network of first aiders, all the partners like the Smithsonian and Prince Claus as well, who have not just been our lecturers, but have continued to be our teachers, mentors, and friends and good supporters over these years. So, how are we with time? Yes, so just briefly now, following some of the, I didn't want to structure it chronologically, but rather to say in this 3 or 4 main areas of activities. So you see that we have worked largely with the heritage community, so to say, with people who really feel like protecting heritage. So we did a project that was funded by the Swedish funders back in 2016, which helped us work with the youth, also with the other heritage organizations, where we campaigned together for awareness raising and the importance of heritage protection in general. And yes, the activist group, which then, yes, one of these projects enabled us to have a lot of courses. So some of the courses in heritage preservation that are not taught anywhere in any university. So we could offer this kind of after school courses for anyone, any age, to join. And then this group of people, kind of the alumni of this courses, became our heritage club, so to say, and they have been very, very active in all the other volunteer activities that we've been having. We also partnered with the World Heritage Watch, an NGO, where we did some awareness raising seminars also with the World Heritage sites and the various, the 3 of them in Georgia and their protection. So yes, in terms of public awareness and reaching out to the wider audience, we have at the very start got funding to do our website, and eventually now we're present more or less on the social media, and you see that also on the slides, also a YouTube channel where we post some of our media coverage, also some of our lectures and so on. Another key has been training, so capacity building workshops. So any project that we had, we tried to focus them around various training topics. So once we had this project funded by the Getty Foundation to work on the Soviet modernist building and its preservation, and we had a lot of trainings within this project for the youth and the students. Yes, and now to turn to the first aid. That's the most frequently we do the first aid to heritage in times of crisis trainings. We do this with volunteers or group who want to volunteer for this. Students, even school children once. And at some point, we were also asked by our member, the National Archives, to also do it for them. And on May Day in 2019, that's when we, all three of us, got together and did this with the team. We also joined ICOM Georgia 2 years ago in another regional workshop on first aid led by Corinne Wagner from ICOM, DRMC, and the Smithsonian. And we did this practical simulation there for the various museum professionals from all three Caucasus museum representatives. And just lately this year, we had another, my colleague, first aider from US come help and do this training also in Gori, where we have a project. Gori is a city which underwent in the 2008 war. So that's where we have a larger project now. This is part of an ALIPH-funded larger project there, where we do a lot of trainings, also in preventive conservation and so on. So just to quickly also mention some of our publications, because whenever we had this public, also training projects and activities, we felt there is need to provide these listeners with some material in Georgian. So we started by translating, of course, the Hague Convention in Georgian, also the Council of Europe Faro Convention, and also drafted this kind of heritage activist manual and so on and so forth. And lately, also some of these publications related to our more recent projects. And what is also important for our organization are this translation of handbooks and manuals. And right after it was prepared, the handbook for emergency evacuation was translated by us in Georgian, and right now we are also in the process of translating the larger, the handbook and the toolkit for first aid and to cultural heritage in times of crisis. So under this point on education and research or researcher publications, I should also mention our recent involvement with a research institution here in Georgia, which hosted an international conference, and we presented there together with Emma, actually, myself and her, we worked on this report and the paper about Georgia's, about cultural heritage protection on Georgia's occupied territories. And to turn to the second point about proactive protection and risk preparedness, I should mention that some of the trainings that we had, this was the very first one in one of the regions of Georgia, and also what we're doing for the moment, which, as I said, is a larger project in Gori, is documentation of and a detailed inventory of the collections of the Gori History and Ethnography Museum. So we believe this is really key to preserving and digitalizing their collections. So. And within the same project, right now, we're in the process of preparing the disaster risk management plan, again, for the Gori Museum, which we hope will serve also as a prototype for other plans like this for other regional museums, because they need it very, very much. They have no planning procedures in place, no documents in place for such actions. So we are very much eager to finalize this work with them and see how it works also for other small museums in the future. And another point is again, according to law and policy implementation. And here we definitely have envisaged to work very hard on helping the state implement the Hague Convention, which was actually signed and ratified quite early on, right when we joined the UN, but really no procedures have been in place, have followed. So whenever we get a chance, we participate in talks. We talk with the military about the need for training. We talk also with the Ministry of Culture, and so, but there is very so much that a little NGO can do. One other activity in this, under this heading, I should mention, is also this interactive map and a report on Georgia's Georgia's occupied territories and the heritage there, which will soon be launched, I hope, and where we cooperated also with the Newcastle University about this. Yes, and now, sorry if I'm taking too long, but now this to the last point, coordination with the relevant organizations. I should mention a few of our partnerships with state and non-state actors, such as this very recent collaboration that we had with the National Guard of the Ministry of Defense of Georgia, which we were really lucky it happened, because in the previous years we were not so successful in approaching them and collaborating. So we were invited to join a joint exercise by the National Guard and the emergency services of the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and we came up with a heritage inject there, and yes, worked out quite fine, and we hope to continue to work with them also in the future. We also often join this celebration of the International Day of Disaster Risk Reduction, which was organized by the National Security Council back then. And so these volunteers and our Heritage Club members, which I mentioned, they were always eager to come and join, and we would present our work, our publications there. And another cooperation is the cooperation with the military, with the Red Cross Georgia, where we also recently cooperated on a project which dealt with also first aid, but also vulnerability and capacity assessment. And yes, I won't go into too much more detail. This was in a risk-prone area, which was early also hit by an earthquake in Georgia. And another partnership or cooperation we have with ICROM that led to this joint vulnerability and capacity assessment exercise and a game that was developed by us jointly and was staged also in Racha region, in a mountainous area. And yes, this brings me to a close and to listing some of our strategies or strategic objectives for the future. But I should also, yes, in order of priority, but what I should also mention right now is that yes, with losing our founding members and with a few changes, so now our board is being, a new board is being formed. So we'll have also new statutes and governance structure and so on. So that will also, our strategic goals will also be looked over and reworked. And by the end of this year, we also hope to publish a public-facing document, like or online, or also maybe in both languages, to show kind of our 5-year activities, like a 5-year report. And you will see or hear more about this and other activities also there. But meanwhile, yes, I forgot to mention also some of the past and current donors that we have. We had, you see, most international ones, and also some of our partners, and we are very, very grateful for all of these partnerships, and not just the organizations, but many dedicated individuals also locally and internationally who have in small or bigger ways supported us along the way. And I finish here and with our website that you can check also later if you're more interested in anything. So thank you very, very much, and I'm